I remember standing at the back post with Keeney with about a minute to go. And I said, it ain't happening this year, Roy. And he looked at me and he went, I'm going to do you, you little. And I'm thinking, hurry up and take the call. He's going to chin me here.
Hello and welcome to Ironcast. What a guest we've got this week. I tell you, when we started this, there's a few dream guests on our lineup. And this gentleman is right at the top of the list. A cult hero for West Ham, 176 league games in a 9-year spell. It's Johnny Monks. Welcome to Ironcast.
Welcome, mate.
Welcome, mate.
I think over 200 with substitute appearances. I don't want to sell myself short, you know what I mean? But yeah, what a fantastic 9 years. I think I was at the club 9 years. So greatest times of my life, really.
And in 9 years, just so many characters, not only yourself, when you think about the people you shared a dressing room with, from Martin Allen to Paulo Di Canio, Ian Bishop.
Yeah.
The names just keep
Johnny
coming.
Hartson.
Saw them all, mate, didn't you?
Yeah.
Neil Ruddock.
Razor.
Ian Wright.
Dixie.
Righty, Dixie. And then you went on Tony Cotty, you went on to then the boys that come through who were England players, which, we didn't have many at West Ham at that time, but Frank, Rio, Joe Cole, Ferdinand.
Ian Wright?
Oh, yeah, Righty, obviously, but coming through the academy.
The Carrick, Foes, Glenn Johnson.
Michael Carrick, what a player he was.
Wow.
So it was a great time because when I originally signed, I think it was in 93, 94, we was like a bit of a yo-yo team. We'd come up from the championship then, I think 2 years before I signed. And the first year I was here, we nearly got relegated. But we ended up going through an era where we actually become a good team. Got in Europe 1 year and basically come fifth 1 year. I don't know what year that was. Might have been 96, 7, I think. But to come fifth in the league, it was a big turnaround.
And won the Intertoto Cup. We sat here in front of a picture of West Ham with a European trophy. You did the same thing.
Right
99.
Don't underestimate it. It was a it was a funny one because we got come back early and everyone was moaning because obviously
for an early game in
pre-season we got to come back 2 weeks before. What's this all about? And in the Toto Cup, no one wanted to go. You know what I mean? No one wanted to know. And then we basically had a run. Got in as the momentum come each round. We were like thinking, we could get in Europe.
Yeah, bonus on it and all.
And it was nice few quid. And we ended up actually beating Metz, which was an unbelievable 2 games in the final. And it was,
wow.
Well, you know what West Ham fans are like with, an achievement in Europe.
Yeah.
So
many people said that Metz away game was one of the best, for a long time, one of the best West Ham away games they'd ever been on for a generation.
I think performance-wise it was because they was a good team. I mean, you had the I forget his name in midfield. He was a brilliant player.
And Louis Zaha up front.
Yeah, I've managed to put him out of the game at Upton Park. I'd hit him with a great tackle. I mean, I won the ball, but obviously followed through and caught him, and he was out. So I'm thinking that's a result.
Was that premeditated or just
Harry said to me, "You got to get into him," because obviously he was a I forget his name, but he was a real quality left-footed player and their talisman. And obviously that was a bonus, not being horrible, but for him not to play in the second leg. But they had like Sahar up front, and they was a good team. So the second, that away performance really was a proper. I actually see it on video a little while ago. We controlled the first half, like it wasn't an away performance where we hit them on the break.
Yeah.
We were a better team.
Control.
And the forward players we have around that time, Joe Cole, Paulo Di Canio, Paulo One-Shop in his pomp.
Yeah, Sinclair,
really
Trevor Sinclair. I mean, we as I say, that around that time we was a real good Premiership team.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm more impressed with Monk's watched the video recently. Did you say on video or?
Yeah, someone sent me it.
Is it a proper old video?
No.
I was going to say.
No. Sorry. YouTube.
Yeah, he's up to date. The VHS player's gone.
Yeah.
Talking of characters, I wanted to go right back to the start of your career because you've played 11 games, I think it was, for Spurs in the year they won the FA Cup in 91. But you played with Gaza. Yeah. And I thought the two of you are quite similar personalities. Did you get on?
He's a great lad. Good mates. Yeah, we had again. It was talk about characters at that time. Paul Walsh, Paul Stewart, Gazza, obviously. Mitchell Thomas was a funny lad. Vinnie Samway, Steve Sedgley was a nutcase. It was like Pat Van Den Al.
Oh, sounds carnage.
Yeah, so it was. I'd always been brought up around these sort of players. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of them players, not only were they big characters, they were good footballers. And I think in my head, it was like, that's the way to make yourself a better player. So I used to watch Gazza, because a lot of the games, although I didn't play, I was in the squad. So I used to watch him like an hawk. And then he was one of them that he deferred the pressure by just being a clown. And I thought, and then he went out on the pitch like a free spirit. And I thought, I want to be like that geezer. And he would have you whatever way you wanted. He'd do you with aggression, strength. Yeah. I mean, beat you. I had a needle pass, score brilliant goals. He was like the greatest midfielder of his generation. Definitely. Do you know what I mean? So I just loved his attitude. I mean, he was hilarious. Honestly.
Do you think that's missing in football nowadays, Monks, as in characters? I think towards the end when I was finishing, I played with characters, but not like the stories you hear of like Monks' era. I think that's missing.
It wouldn't happen, would it?
No, it can't. I get that because of the way the game's changed, but some of the characters, you don't really see them characters anymore, which has sort of died out of the game.
No, I mean, like with Pep Guardiola, I mean, one particular story that just made me laugh with Gaz, he'd been on the lash on the weekend, because he used to go up to Newcastle. So he come back, we'd been beat, I think, might have been Villa, we'd been beat, and then basically Venables was fuming. And he'd called me up in the office and had a little go at me about something. And, you know, he said, you're near the first team, but this lets you down. So I thought, oh, that's nice. I weren't even playing at the weekend, you know what I mean? So I said to Gazza, I said, he's got the right hump up there. I said, don't make a mug of yourself today. Because Gazza had come down on the train from Newcastle. And he was half cut.
He'd been on the beers on the train.
He said, I needed a livener. Right? So he'd been on the, I don't know, it was the Jack Daniels. So anyway, he said, nah, I'll be all right. Anyway, he's got a clown's nose from somewhere, put it on, and Eric Torsford's boots, who was like size 14, right? Our goalkeeper and gone out and trained. Right? So Venners has come out. We're now into like a five-a-side, because he used to come out late, and Gazza is the best player on the pitch.
Even though he was.
Even though he had the clown's nose, and Venners looks here, and he's like, 1-2's goal, this, that, and he went... I remember him just going up. Can't be bothered with him.
What can you say? What can you say though? What can you actually say to him if he's the best player and he's doing that? You just got to let him go, ain't you?
Mate.
You had a spell at Swindon after Spurs, working with Glenn Hoddle. I don't know if you've seen it. There's a clip knocking about on the internet. I don't know if anyone's mentioned it to you, where Glenn Hoddle's teaching you something, and he's like, going like, John, you need to do it like this. And he's doing like a 30, 40 yard pass. He's like, put some backspin on it or something like that when you're at Swindon. And you're like, and you're having a go at it. But obviously he's Glenn Hoddle. Yeah. Like, he's one of the greatest midfield players England's ever produced.
Yeah. Well, I'd been on loan 6-7 times at Tottenham. I went to Nottingham Forest, Ipswich. And through one reason or another, I basically come back. Wasn't that I didn't, they couldn't agree a fee, or some loans I didn't do that good. So my confidence was low. So when Hoddle took me to Swindon on a permanent move, he was another one that I'd grown up watching at Tottenham.
Yeah.
And he's a genius. So my confidence went through the roof. That's when my career took off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'd only
he
played.
Was such a good player. He was such a
yeah,
of course.
I'd come back one time. I don't know if it was John Gregory at Portsmouth, and didn't want me. And then I thought, well, John Gregory's a good player. He must know something about the game. Good midfielder. You know what I mean? But when it come to Chris Turner down at Cambridge, you know what I mean? I started to lose confidence. But and Dave Cusack at Doncaster, you know what I mean? It was like, well, he did actually, but I broke my leg, but that's another story. But when I went to Odd, it was like he was better than the players, and he was still playing. So being a player manager, and he's looking at players that can't do what he could do. Thankfully, I was one that could. Not as good, obviously, by that clip. But he got players in like me, Mickey Hazard, Nicky Summerby, Martin Ling, all good footballers. And it was a masterstroke because our budget was and we ended up getting in the Premiership.
Yeah. Premier League with Swindon Town.
Yeah.
And you really starred that season. I heard you joined West Ham. I don't know how true this is. At the end of the kind of, what would it have been, 93-94 season, Harry Redknapp went to Jamie Redknapp and said, who's your toughest opponent this season? And he said John Moncur.
Yeah.
And Harry's like, right. Is that true?
Well, Harry told me that, but I remember I played twice that year against Jamie, and then obviously the Anfield game was my best game. I scored. We drew 2-2 with Liverpool, but we was 2-1 up. I'd made the first goal. I was just, it was one of them days. So I can believe that. I mean, Jamie knew me when he was a kid. So I hadn't played against him, but I trained with him at Tottenham because he'd come to Tottenham
of course, yeah.
as a young kid and whatnot. So I can believe that. But Harry was like, when I come here and all the, what a great signing.
£1 million as well,
£1 million. Me and Joey Beauchamp signed on the same day, and I had some 3-4 great seasons. Then I had a dicky spell, and Harry said, it's Billy Bonds' sign, nothing to do with me. Because Billy actually signed me.
Oh, was it? Oh, yeah, of course, because it's just in that period just before Harry took over.
God,
but he went after 3 weeks.
Yeah, what did you do? What did you do?
Well, I think the biggest shock to me at first, because I went and spoke to Glenn Hoddle again at Chelsea. So everyone thought I was going to Chelsea because it was my ex-Swindon manager. And Swindon called me in. They said, look, Newcastle want you. But apparently Glenn Roeder thinks you're a because I was mates with Gazza. So I said, that's nice from Glenn. West Ham want you. Chelsea want you. We've agreed £1 million. So I went to speak to Chelsea first. And then obviously everyone thought I was going to go to...
What, just didn't work out at Chelsea, or you fancied
No, it
West
didn't
Ham?
work out. Bit of both. Basically, my heart ruled me head. I was obviously, all my family were West Ham. And it was one of them. I used to look through the Upton Park training ground. I used to play at Westlands, which was next to Chadwell Heath, as a 10, 11-year-old. So it was like something that I just had, I was probably looking at maybe Bobby Moore then, I don't know. Definitely Billy Bonds and players like that. So it was a little bit of both. The contract weren't too dissimilar. In fact, West Ham gave me another year. Chelsea offered me a 3-year deal. So I basically signed for West Ham. So I thought, unbelievable. They wanted to sort of build the team around good midfield players. We had Michael Hughes, Ian Bishop, players that I knew were good players. So I decided to sign, and then about 2 weeks later, we went down to Eastbourne on a pre-season fitness camp, and Billy Bonds was beating us all at the running. I thought, what have I done here? He's 43 and fitter than the players. So I then thought I've made a big mistake.
Also on that pre-season, there's the famous story where Harry Redknapp played a fan in a pre-season friendly. I think it was that summer. Were you playing on that day?
Yeah. Well, I think I was injured that day, but I was in the dressing room. But we basically was having a mare, like we usually do pre-season. Nothing
Especially
new.
if the manager's fitter than you.
Nothing new. But so this fella's come flying in and done his nut. Like, I thought he's one of the old ICF merchants, the way he flew in and went through the door. You're a load of this, that, the other. So Harry went, well, you play then. Go on, put a kit on.
He wasn't invited in. He just steamed in the dressing room.
Yeah, he steamed in. He sort of got through the... Well, there weren't no security. I forget what. It was a non-league.
Was it Oxford?
Might have been one of them. But,
and Harry's just gone, right, play then. And he's played him.
And he put him on.
Brilliant. And he nearly scored, didn't he? He scored a goal and he was offside.
He could have played... He could have started the season.
Marco Boogers taking his shirt off.
You had so many iconic 90s moments in that first season, stopping United winning the Premier League on a day in which we were already safe at that point. We had nothing to play for, and we just pulled this performance out. It was incredible.
Well, that was a funny one because we had 3 home games. Blackburn, who were champions, Liverpool were third, and United obviously going to the title. So everyone's going, you're gone. You know what I mean? Because we had to win 2 of those games at least. So we beat Blackburn, which was a great game. I think we beat them 2-0.
2-0, Mark Reaper.
Reaper scored. Well, didn't you see me corner? Put it on a sixpence for him.
Corner.
Johnny Prowse it was. Right or left foot. So Reeps gets up and scores the first. And then I actually nearly scored the second. It come out to Hutch. And basically, so anyway, we're thinking we've got a sniff here. And then we beat Liverpool. Thankfully, Liverpool were like not going for the title. So we beat them on the Wednesday.
Smashed them.
3-0.
3-0.
And that was it. We were safe. So Harry went, see you Sunday, lads. So you imagine it like.
No training?
Nothing, which I think Harry was so relieved. So we all turned up. We've been on the 3 days. And I ain't
should have
kidding
done
you.
that earlier on in the season.
That's what I'm saying. We should have done. And that actual game, if you watched it, first half we were brilliant. We battered them.
Is that when Ludo had the world?
Yeah. We battered them first half. We could have been 2 or 3 up. Obviously, second half they battered us, but we ended up sort of stopping them win the title, which is fantastic. Best game I've ever played, I think, at Upton Park.
I can't. One thing I've always heard from players who played on that day was like everyone was just so relaxed beforehand.
Well, now you know why.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's all been out all week.
That's it, all been out on the lash. But I remember standing at the back post with Keeney with about a minute to go, and I said, "It ain't happening this year, Roy." And he looked at me and he went, "I'm going to do you, you little CUN." Right? And I'm thinking, hurry up and take the call. He's going to chin me here. And I went, he said, "I'm going to do you after the game." So I said, "I won't be in the tunnel." I said, "I'll be round here clapping the fans." And he looked at me like, when someone looks at you, and he couldn't even talk. And I thought, he's either going to throw a right hander or, Anyway,
what a day.
What a day that was.
Oh, man. So many great moments. You mentioned Harry Redknapp a few times. What was your relationship like with him? Did you get on with him?
Yeah, you got to remember Harry went to school with my mum.
Really?
And I knew his granddad really well. He was a lovely man, actually. Yeah. He used to come down the training ground. And, so there was a connection. And my dad worked a lot with Harry because my dad was head of the academy at Tottenham for 25 years. So he took Jamie to Tottenham. So there was always a connection. A real
connection,
yeah. And, we was born in the same area. My granddad knew his
That's crazy.
dad. So there was a connection there. But we did have we had our ups and downs, put it that way. 9 years, you wouldn't you? No, actually 7 years, because Harry...
You were there I was
there from start to finish, but he was 7 years. And then obviously Glenn Roeder was the manager for the last couple of years. But yeah, listen, he knew how to put a team together. Very good. He was a good man manager. And he knew football. Like, he knew players. You know what I mean? He signed a lot of good players, Harry.
Yeah.
So, and really, if you look, he had a few bad ones. I don't know why he signed them, but he basically got us into as I said, like from a relegation team into a European team, just a few he chalked off like Bogus and Raduchoyu and Porfirio and...
There was a couple then, wasn't there? Was you around when there's that famous interview with Harry? You'd have been about when they're talking about Frank.
Yeah.
When the fan questions him.
Yeah,
about
Frank
you would have been around then.
Yeah. And there was a lot of talk at the time because, to be honest, Frank was... I've got nothing but respect for Frank because he had it hard when he come through, because people were thinking you're only getting in the team because of your dad.
Yeah, well, that's what that fan was saying.
And that's what that fan, and like a few of us did give him an hard time in training because, you know what football's like.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm thinking, I've got to be better than Frank because I'm getting older now and he's going to come in and take me place and, but he showed a hell of a lot of character and I actually never thought he'd be as good as he was.
Really?
Nah, not, what a career he had.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But he was only 18, 19, 20 then. I remember playing with him on one game, particularly, and the crowd were on his back, and I said to him, look, don't worry about it, just keep going. And he was struggling, and I think it took off. He scored 4 goals against Oxford the next game in a League Cup, whatever it was then.
Walsall, I think it might have been.
Was it Walsall?
Yeah.
Or one of them teams? And I think that gave him a lot of confidence.
Took off from there.
Yeah.
Could you tell? That's interesting to me. Could you not tell he had this amazing ability at a young age? Was it not clear?
I wouldn't have personally.
Yeah.
But he was a good player, really good player. But I wouldn't have said he was like Joey Cole when he come through, or even Rio. I thought Rio was that good. He could play in midfield. He could play at the back. You know, I mean, when Rio come in, we had a relegation game, I think, against Coventry. He played in midfield, Rio, and he was only like 18. And that day, I just thought, wow, this kid's good. You know what I mean? Where it took me a little while to realise how good Frank was. And he become a lot better than what I thought he would have been. Credit to him.
What about the likes of Joe Cole? Do you remember the first time you seen him coming in training? Was that completely different than you could just tell he had?
No, that was ridiculous. It was like you know what I mean, catch the pigeon. I couldn't get near him, and I'm getting more and more frustrated.
Just want to kick him.
You couldn't. Yeah, sit. You know what I mean? But he was like, I said he could be like the next Gaza, this geezer. Yeah. He was that good because he had everything, like on the ball, skill. He was very quick. What he could do, he was a lot stronger than you thought. So when you thought you had him in the corner, he'd slip out of it and be away. I remember one game at Arsenal. I don't know if it was the one where Vieira did spit at Razor. I don't know if it was that one or not. But Vieira went in twice to do him.
Oh, I remember it.
And
did he do like this, then the step over,
didn't he? You know what I mean? He was like Bambi on ice that day, Vieira. And because he's thinking, any other person, I'm going to win this ball on his first touch. Yeah. And Coley just went.
Was he quite lively? Was it, as a young lad? Was he quiet?
Oh, Joe?
Yeah.
Bit of both. Great, a real good lad. Yeah. Different class, Joe. I love him. Yeah, great, you know, he wasn't over cocky like you'd think he played like on the field. He had respect and all for people, you know. Great lad. Brilliant.
What about one thing I always thought about you and the way you played? You had an unbelievable Cruyff turn. You could just do that and just lose whoever was around you. And I noticed that Michael Carrick eventually he added that to his game, and I wondered, did you teach him that? Was there something? I
think Michael learned a lot. I'm good mates with Michael now. I see him quite a bit, and he which is a great compliment. He learned a lot from me. He said. You know what I mean? Which is good. I don't know if he learned that, but I remember. Or he's lying. But I remember. See, these are the things. I was talking to my dad the other day, and my dad was in football, and me and Tony Adams was in the same. I played against him, like I was speaking earlier about the West Ham training ground. Yeah. I played for a Romford team. He played for Dagenham, and he was the first man that just took the ball off me. And I remember my dad, a bit tough, you know. He took it off you like candy off a baby. You know, you ain't going to survive unless you know how to deal with players like that. And I got a bit of my first chest stating at like 11, 12 years old. And I went away and practiced how I can wrong foot him because I was two-footed. Yeah. And the next game, I'd gone to shoot and I Cruyffed him and then scored with my right foot. Bit like the Villa goal.
Yeah.
Where I flicked it with my right foot and hit it with my left. So I could go either way. But I said to my old man the other day, I don't know whether or not it was because you told me about Tony Adams. I practiced so much to basically be two-footed because it was the only way I could probably beat him. Yeah. Is go either way because he was bigger than me and he was stronger than me. So it's funny how things work. But as a young player, that's the determination or the drive you need. You know what I mean? Yeah. In footballers. And you don't know you've got it until you know you've got it when you quit and you think, I was obsessed actually. Because if he'd have took the ball from me again, I'd have been devastated.
Yeah, because you
worked
so hard to do something to beat him.
That's one thing that always comes through to me when footballers talk about this idea of natural ability. It doesn't seem to be natural ability. It's just becoming obsessed and practicing things again and again until it becomes second nature.
Well, I think it's both, isn't it?
Yeah. Mine's not as skillful as Monk's, like doing the Cruyff. I remember being up the school opposite my mum's house back home, and my brother hanging the ball up for me to head it. We'd be up there for hours.
There you go.
Honestly, I would head. I'd head at goal. I'd head away, goal kicks.
But there you go.
And you sort of like get obsessed with it.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
It's not a very
no, but it is a skill. Listen, I'd love to have headed the ball. You look now, you know, heading the ball's a skill.
Yeah.
I never see it as a skill, but it is.
Yeah, well, for me, because of my size and that, if I was going to make it, I was going to be a centre back. Honestly, if my brother was sat here now, we used to be up there. My brother was a good player as well. Oh. He would cross balls in. We'd be up there for hours, just heading the ball.
Yeah,
it's mad,
but that's right. I think you've got, when you say is it a natural ability, I think it's both.
Yeah,
you know, look at Ronaldo,
there, but you've got to work at it.
The best player, really. Yeah, look at his attitude. You know. So you're not telling me that he don't work at his game. Cristiano Ronaldo, come on. Yeah. So you need both, don't you?
Yeah. Right, I've got a long list here of different stories I've heard about you down the years. I'm just going to pull out a few. There's probably going to need to be a part 2 and part 3 to this.
Are we allowed to
record them all? A lot of them are in the public domain.
Stories.
So the first one I'm going to go with. Harry signed, I think it was the start of the 96-97 season, Harry signed a fleet of foreign internationals. One of them was Paulo Futre.
Yeah.
Story I've heard is he came in and was like, well, I'm number 10. You had number 10. And Paulo Futre was, well, I'm not paying for kind of number 10. And you struck a deal. Is this true?
The story was, it was a true story. We turned up at Highbury and obviously I was number 10. So now he's gone into one. So he's actually gone out the dressing room and I think he went home.
What's he done? Not playing?
Done. He didn't play that day. So he's obviously thrown his toys out. Harry then's come to me, we got a problem here because he's just signed him. He said he ain't playing if he's number 10. So I said, well, he ain't playing then, is he? Simple as that. And now he has got a problem.
I can imagine Harry's face.
But I'm thinking, hey, what are you going to do to me here? You know, the old Harry Redknapp, ducker and diver. I can do him at his own game. Yeah? But no, so actually we called him in the office and that Paulo was a good lad and I liked him. And I didn't mind. As long as I was playing, I didn't worry about numbers. So I swapped the 16, the 10 to the 16 and I got free access to his villa in Penina. Lovely, mate.
Lovely, mate.
Sitting there on his sunbed with a cigar. 18 holes after. Listen, keep the 10. I'm all right.
It's unreal.
How many trips did you get out of it?
Oh, mate, endless. But,
did you?
No, when I did, it was good. It was good.
Couple of times.
Different class, yeah.
Rio Ferdinand says the funniest thing he's ever seen in football, I don't know if you've seen this interview, was how you reacted once for not having enough training kit.
Yeah.
What's the story?
So, Ginge knows where I live in Loughton. So I used to sort of leave half hour before I needed to get in. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't one of them that was going to get in. I'd do my work after training. So I used to time it right. One particular morning, it was freezing. There was like snow, sleet in the air. So you're driving in. I used to get in about 9:30 for an 10:30.
Yeah.
And the foreign lads at the time, our kit man, we had a certain amount of kit, but what they'd nicked 2 tops, you know what I mean? Gloves, hats. So I gets in. All I've got is my T-shirt, my shorts, obviously my socks. Now it's -1 out there. So I said, where's the tops? Where's the tracksuit? Bearing in mind, I've been there 6-7 years.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Sorry, Monk, there ain't none in there because it was like they used to put it in a bin, first come, first serve. Yeah, so I thought, well, I've got to do something about this.
Would it have been Eddie, Kitman?
Eddie.
Yeah. He was there when I was
Eddie, great lad. So I said, Ed, this ain't happening, mate. I ain't happy. So I thought, right, what do I do here? So where Harry used to sit right outside the pitch, he could see the training pitch at Chadwell Heath. I've come out bollock naked and just slid through a puddle, right? Done a Klinsmann, right, with just boots on. So the lads are all laughing. So I said, don't worry about training tops and kit. I said, I'm doing the warm-up. Come, away we go. Well, Harry's seen it. He's come tearing out. Get him in here. So I've got me. He said, I've got cameras here today. You'll get me the sack. All right, you'll get me the sack. So I said, well, if I don't get any kit, that's what's happening. So
I bet they found some kit sharpish.
Well, he got Eddie. He went, listen, Ed, whatever happens, make sure he's got a tracksuit. I said, you know what he's like?
You know what he's like.
So it worked. I never got like short changed then.
What's the story with the paint for the lines and the pitches?
That was another one where we. But who would? I ain't kidding you. At West Ham, right? It was a great club. But who has a geezer paint in the dressing room when you're getting ready to train? You know what I mean? Like he could have done it after we finished.
Or you've got like 8 weeks in the summer when no one's around.
8 weeks or a day off. I mean, I think maybe what had happened, we'd been scheduled a day off, and obviously he's come in and we're training. So now it's like, what is going on here? So when the lads went out, I just said, "Dear mate, paint me head white." He painted me head. So I just went out with white head. I mean, as you do.
I mean,
but you can't have a geezer in there. It's like when you got, you could be having a team bonding, team meeting. It can't happen. So that was sacked after that. No more painters in.
I bet he was sacked and all.
Oh, mate.
Paint me head, mate. Was it like emulsion then? Did it come out?
Yeah, come off. It took me a while. I thought, when I was here about an hour after, I thought I'd made a rookie here.
Oh man, I wanted to ask about the end of the 96-97 season. We had again another great escape, and Hartson and Kitson came in, and I felt that was the moment where we went on an upward trajectory for almost the rest of the 90s. Hartson and Kitson.
Yeah.
Did it feel like that at the time? Did it give us such a big lift?
Yeah, I think so, because Harry liked to pack midfield with footballers, and we had a good midfield. We could dominate the ball, but we just wasn't putting the ball in the net. So it was looking like we're in trouble here again. And then he signed them 2 players, which both of them were outstanding, I've got to say. I mean, even Paul Kitson, although he didn't have the career in terms of what Johnny Hartson went on to do, they complemented each other so well. Great characters. And both of them could do everything, because we played 2 up top in the end. Because so both of them could complement each other. So you had Kitto running in behind, very good finisher, and then you had a target man.
Big hearts, yeah.
I mean, Johnny was about your stamp.
Yeah.
Big lad, and people didn't realise how good he was on the deck.
No, he could play. I obviously played with John at Wales.
Well, you're telling me,
unbelievable player.
Yeah. That season, I think it's maybe 97, 98. He's just unplayable.
Unbelievable, mate.
Like Monk said, he had everything now, didn't he?
Yeah.
Everything.
He had a little bit of, he could join in. Like as a midfield player, he used to face up and give me the ball when I wanted it or whatever. Like other midfield players loved playing with him. And then when you was in trouble, you could knock an hopeful ball into him and he'd make it look good. I mean, he would actually like bully players and get it on his chest.
Bring it down, yeah.
Where, other players couldn't even edit. He was in his heyday. He was, the only problem Johnny had was perhaps his weight a little bit. That's what I would have said. Getting hold of his, he put on a few pounds one season after he'd scored 24 goals. And it took him a while to then get into his running. But to score 24 goals one year, I forget what year it was, unbelievable.
Yeah. Another great West Ham striker you played with, Paulo Di Canio. Shared a dressing room with him for many years.
Unbelievable player, mate. Probably the best, what I would call West Ham player I ever played with. Me personally, he was genius.
Was he a genius straight away, or did he need to warm up a bit?
I think he was. I think he just, you think of Paulo's career, he was just unbelievable. Like he wasn't quick, but he had, again, like the top players, like Harry Kane's and Teddy Sheringham's. He was yard quick up here, and he could pull off. Technically, he could do anything. Fantastic player. One of them world class players that you don't play with many of them.
Yeah.
Well, we spoke to him, and he loved the dressing room as well. Did he got involved as well?
Oh, he bought into it. Yeah.
He said when we had him on, he said he enjoyed that and mentioned, "Oh, you boys, you got a special mention for being in the dressing room." I think, but he said he loved it. He said it was something he hadn't seen, a dressing room like that, but absolutely loved it.
Yeah, probably at times we sort of stepped over the line a little bit because he didn't really go out drinking a lot and stuff like that. But then that era was different, so we had that was us. We might have had a night out once a week or whatever. But I think he had to buy into it in the end because he saw that we wasn't taking the we was, we trained hard when we trained and we so I think we won him over a little bit rather than him winning us over,
Yeah. One of the big moments that you and Paulo really starred in was the 5-4 against Bradford in 2000. I think you might even open the scoring for us that day.
Yeah.
Is that the game where you tried to you took your top off or something?
You couldn't get it back on.
And you tried to put your top back on.
Yeah.
And they scored.
So Paulo played the free kick, and it was a little bit over, and I ended up getting on the end of it and scoring. And then obviously I hadn't scored for I don't know how long, so I've gone bananas. Took the top off. I don't know. It was right on half time, and then time I've got it back on, which I'm running about with one arm in and all that. It was a carnage. The ball sort of come down to Dean Saunders, and I've gone in the back of him. I see Dean Saunders a little while ago, and I remind him of it because he was a clever player, and he's give a penalty. So now me and Harry are having a row in at half time. You can't even get top on. I said, leave it out. I said, I ain't scored for 6-8 months. I said, let me enjoy it, you know. But that game, it was just ridiculous.
Bonkers.
Shaka broke his leg, I think.
Taking a goal kick.
Yeah,
Did he?
Yeah. And we had this boy come in, Steve Bywell, who was a real confident lad. Great lad.
He got a mention last week.
Yeah, weeks in a row.
Yeah, well, he let 4 in that game. He was so confident, but that day he had his oven gloves on. He was like unbelievable. And then that's the thing, we had these new screens put up at the side, and he's looking at himself on the screen, and they're having a shot, and the crowd are going, like, it's like a pantomime. It's behind you. But it was a mad game. And then Di Canio had the row he had 3
3 Stonewall penalties.
Stonewall.
And the referee's like, no.
Yeah,
and he's giving Bradford penalties for everything.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's when he said,
that's the famous
get
one.
me off. And then him and I had the row over the penalty. But that was a carnival, that game. It was mad.
What was it like in the dressing room after?
Well,
what does Harry say after a game like that?
I think Harry actually went, he couldn't even speak. It was like, I've seen it all now. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you were there for a couple of years beyond Harry. How was that? It was a bit of a shock at the time, I think, for me as a fan when Harry left. I just didn't see it coming at all. What was it like as a player to find out that the Harry Redknapp era was over?
Well, it was because he'd been there 7 years, so it was a sort of big thing. You know, you've been at clubs where the manager, especially if you think, you know, he likes you or you know he's doing the right job, it's a bit of a blow. Yeah. But it happened so quick. Don't really know the full reasons why, but then Glenn Roeder come in, and he did have a good year the first year.
Yeah, finished 7th, didn't we?
We done well, you know, and it didn't go so well. Obviously, the next year, I think that was the final year I was at the club. I didn't play many games, to be honest. I mean, he didn't play me that year, Glenn.
Was that the year we went down on?
Yeah,
40,
the year
20 years ago.
43 points,
years
wasn't it?
ago, yeah.
Right, yeah, and I sort of fell out with him a little bit because, as I said, I knew Glenn when Gazza I was Gazza's mate, so I always liked him as a man, you know what I mean. But that year, I remember going into him, and I said, "Listen, we're going to get relegated if you don't play players like me." But I was 36, and I think he'd made his mind up.
He's playing the kids.
You know what I mean? He offered me a coaching job, but I didn't have no interest in that at the time. I still wanted to play. And I remember the conversation, and I said, like, you know, Joe and Mike, or Joe Cole, they're unbelievable players. They're going to have unbelievable careers. But at the minute, I think I can come in here. You need something else.
Bit of experience.
Oh, experience. And he said, listen, I'm going to go with what I'm going to go with. And I don't think I started a game that year, but I'm not saying that's the reason we got relegated. There was other players that were experienced, even Potsy, you know, he never played. And I was thinking, you know, Potsy's been at the club, he's like 500 games, and okay, you've gone down that road, but we're sitting on the, you know, on the bottom 3. Why not change it? Give it a go. Give it 6 games. Yeah. So it is what it is. But disappointing year because we had a record, a number of points, but still went down.
Still is, isn't it?
Yeah, still is. 42 points is the record. I was chatting to Les Ferdinand the other day, and he said, I asked him because obviously he came in towards the back end of that season, and he thought it was the case that the young players in the team or the players in the team at the time were just scared of the crowd, like scared to put a foot wrong.
Well, that's sort of what you're trying to say, isn't it? Like by playing you and Potsy and people like that. You take the pressure off the young lads and play the boys who've done it before. Yeah,
I think you're right because, you know, there was players that wasn't used to Upton Park Like the thing is with the crowd and the old type of grounds, you hear a lot more, and people weren't used to the hostility sometimes when it don't go well. You know, I mean, I saw Freddie Canuti, top player, yet was getting hammered off the crowd at one point. You know, Robbie Slater, who had won a league medal at basically Blackburn. We're playing one night, the crowd are on his back. I look round, he's 5 yards away from me. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I can't go out there." He said, "They're driving me mad." Like the chicken run.
Right towards the chicken run.
You know what I mean? So he's played and that's a true sort of story. So players probably had lost confidence, and a lot of them weren't used to the
And then when that happens, as a player, you're nervous to get on the ball sometimes. Well, some players are.
No,
you can
are,
see people. You can see them hiding, can't you? Like not hiding, or maybe not showing for the ball, and then it's just
Well,
and it's a disaster.
That's right. You're spot on, because it's easy to go by unnoticed and maybe get the shepherd's hook, than we're losing 2-0 at home and the crowd are moaning.
Yeah.
Why don't you go and get on the ball? Like I remember,
make things happen.
I remember being told at Tottenham, if you're going to have a mare as a young kid, have a good mare. So I never shied away from the ball, because and I had some bad games, but I wouldn't hide. I didn't want to hide.
Yeah. So you left in the summer of 2003 and you hung up your boots.
Yeah.
But I thought that following season, we still could have used you. It didn't make sense to me at the time as a fan. I thought dropping down a division, your experience, it made sense for you to stay around. Was that never an option?
No, sadly. I mean, I would have got a testimonial and all.
Of course.
So, but as I say, Glenn had made his mind up. Glenn Roeder. I don't know whether or not the board, Trevor Brooking come in, whether they had agreed with it. But what was disappointing for me, as they signed Rob Lee, who would do my job. He was exactly the same age. You know, good player, Rob. You know, he's a good lad. I like him. But that was a disappointing fact. It's not like they've signed and gone down a different road.
Yeah.
In fact, I knew the club backwards, and championship level, I knew I could have easily done another season. But it happens, doesn't it? You know, you just have to get on with it.
And now you're an ambassador for West Ham. You're there in the lounges at West Ham, at London Stadium home games. And what's the moment West Ham fans come up to you and ask you about more than anything else?
I think they're brilliant. Like the thing is with the fans, it's eras, isn't it? A lot of them say, "I love the 90s when yous were playing." You know, like, but as you said earlier, there's a lot of them boys that were good players, good characters, loved the club. You know, had good careers at West Ham. So they appreciate that, not so much the younger people. It's the people that are sort of my age and even older. I mean, a lot of them were kids then. So I would say the 40s to 60-year-olds really appreciate sort of the time we had.
I don't know if you see it as well, Monks. Like, obviously, I do the same thing as Monks, the lounges on a Saturday. The amount, and credit to the club, the amount of ex-players that do come here.
Yeah.
Every single one of us who used to play for West Ham, whether you're from different areas of the country, love West Ham. Like, I think I've said it on here before, and Monks will agree. When you come and play for West Ham, you just sort of become a fan, don't you?
That's it.
And the love that we still get, the older boys from the fans, is incredible.
Oh, without a doubt. And that's what's brilliant. I mean, it's actually so enjoyable. You do it even if you weren't getting paid. Don't get me wrong, it ain't a lot of money. But it's brilliant, because he's right. It's like a family, isn't it, West Ham? And we're really appreciated by the fans, aren't we?
It's brilliant.
And that's what's good. And I think that, that goes a long way, because I think the atmosphere now in that particular stand is so good to how it was, obviously when we moved over from Upton Park. But I speak to the Tottenham lads and other clubs that don't do it as much, and they said, like, the fans are forever asking, why is there only 4 of you? Well, because Tottenham they've cut back to 6 players where they used to have 25. You know what I mean? So it just shows you what they're like.
I think it's a brilliant thing as well. Because unfortunately, I think it doesn't seem to be the relationship. Not the relationship. As in, it's hard for fans to speak to current players nowadays.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because of the way the game is and what's gone on. So I think see Monks up there telling stories, me about the time I played.
Yeah.
I think that's why the fans enjoy it so much. And like I said, credit to the club because it's brilliant.
It is brilliant. The other thing fans don't see is that when you get there like 3 hours, whatever it is, before kickoff, all the old players go in the press room and have your pre-match meal. And you're all sat around together on the same table, roaring with laughter. Yeah. And you're like, oh, you're still all mates. I love that so much.
Exactly. Well, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. I mean, in the end, you're only left with your memories, you know what I mean? Don't matter what. And that's what, us footballers, we miss a lot because you miss the dressing room. So it's a little bit of the old dressing room. And I look forward to it. I love it, meeting up and whatnot. And as you say, most, as James said, the West Ham players, there's sort of a connection. There is.
You made the right decision when you went to West Ham over Chelsea. You made it.
Mate.
You called it.
Wasn't even a decision.
Bang on.
Oh, John, thank you for the chat. Thank you for the memories. What a brilliant episode. It's been a pleasure to be in your company.
Appreciate it.
Cheers, man.
Blinding.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers, lads.
Brilliant. And thank you for listening. We'll be back very soon with a brand new episode. Until then, come on, you Irons.